Hi, and welcome back to this channel. Today we are speaking about the Civil War in America, the big conflict between the North and the South of the country. In this video, we'll explore the causes of conflict, key battles, and turning points. So, let's explore the history of American Civil War. Causes of the conflict. The root causes of the American Civil War can be traced back to several key factors that created deep political, social, and economic divisions between the North and South. One of the most significant of these was the issue of slavery. The Southern states had an economy that was heavily dependent on the labor of enslaved African Americans, while the Northern states had largely abolished slavery and were moving towards an industrialized economy. These economic differences were compounded by political tensions over states' rights. The Southern states believed that they had the right to secede from the Union and to make their own laws regarding issues like slavery, while the Northern states believed that the federal government had the power to regulate these issues. These political tensions were further exacerbated by the election of Abraham Lincoln, who was committed to ending the expansion of slavery into new territories. As tensions between the North and South continued to rise, several Southern states began to secede from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The Confederacy was led by Jefferson Davis and other Southern politicians who were committed to protecting the institution of slavery and preserving the way of life in the South. Key battles and turning points. One of the first key battles of the war was the attack on Fort Sumter, which marked the beginning of the war. The Confederate forces, under the command of General Beauregard, bombarded the fort on April 12, 1861, forcing its surrender and setting the stage for the 4 years of conflict to come. Another turning point in the war was the Union victory at the Battle of Gettysburg, which took place from July 1 to 3, 1863. The battle was fought in Pennsylvania and resulted in a significant loss for the Confederacy, with over 28,000 casualties. The Union victory at Gettysburg is often seen as a turning point in the war, as it marked the first time that Confederate forces had been decisively defeated on Northern soil. Another key moment in the war was the fall of Vicksburg, Mississippi, which came in July 1863, around the same time as the Battle of Gettysburg. The Union forces, under the command of General Grant, laid siege to the city for over a month, cutting off its supply lines and eventually forcing its surrender. This gave the Union control of the Mississippi River and split the Confederacy in two, effectively cutting off the western states from the rest of the Confederacy. The final turning point of the war came in April 1865, with the surrender of Confederate General Robert Lee to Union General Ulysses Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. This marked the end of the war and ensured that the Union would be preserved, while also leading to the eventual abolition of slavery in the United States. The home front of the war. The home front during the Civil War was a time of great upheaval and hardship for civilians in the United States. One of the key challenges faced by civilians during the war was the shortage of basic necessities, including food, clothing, and medical care. In the South, the Union blockade of southern ports made it difficult for civilians to access goods from abroad, while in the North, the demand for resources to support the war effort often led to shortages of essential items. Many families struggled to make ends meet, and women and children were forced to take on new responsibilities as men left to fight in the war. Despite these challenges, civilians also played a key role in the war effort. Women in particular were active in fundraising and volunteering, and many took on new roles as nurses, teachers, and laborers. Organizations such as the United States Sanitary Commission and the United States Christian Commission were formed to provide aid to soldiers and their families, and civilians contributed funds, supplies, and time to these efforts. The home front also saw significant social and cultural changes, particularly in the North. The war provided opportunities for women to become more involved in public life, and the need for new workers led to the growth of industries and the expansion of cities. Reconstruction and Aftermath. The period following the Civil War, known as Reconstruction, was a time of great upheaval and change for the United States. At the heart of Reconstruction was the effort to rebuild the South and reunite the nation. This involved a range of measures, including the establishment of military governments in southern states, the granting of voting rights to African American men, and the creation of new laws and institutions to address issues such as education, land ownership, and labor rights. Despite these efforts, Reconstruction was a difficult and often contentious process. The South was devastated by the war, and rebuilding efforts were complicated by political, social, and economic factors, including the continued resistance of some Southern whites to the changes brought about by Reconstruction. The period following Reconstruction saw ongoing struggles for civil rights and racial equality, particularly for African Americans. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 and the 14th and 15th Amendments to the Constitution guaranteed basic rights and protections for African Americans, including the right to vote. However, these gains were often undermined by discriminatory laws and practices, including the rise of segregation. Despite these challenges, the post-Reconstruction period also saw great changes, including the growth of industrialization and urbanization, the rise of new technologies and forms of media. Impact of the Civil War in our days. The Civil War in the United States had a profound impact on the country that can still be felt today. Here are some of the ways in which the war and its aftermath continue to shape the nation. 1. The abolition of slavery. The Civil War ultimately led to the abolition of slavery, one of the most important and defining moments in American history. 2. The expansion of federal power. The Civil War led to a significant expansion of federal power and the centralization of authority in the federal government. This has had a lasting impact on American politics and governance, shaping debates over issues such as states' rights, federalism, and the balance of power between the states and the federal government. 3. The growth of industry and capitalism. The war had a significant impact on the American economy, leading to the growth of industry and capitalism in the North and the emergence of new economic systems in the South. This legacy can still be seen in the ways in which the American economy operates today, including debates over labor rights, economic inequality, and the role of government in regulating the economy. 4. The shaping of American identity. The Civil War and its aftermath had a profound impact on American identity, shaping how Americans see themselves and their country. 5. The ongoing struggle for civil rights. Despite the gains made during Reconstruction and in the decades since, the struggle for civil rights and racial equality in the United States continues to this day. That's all that I have for now. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting content like this.